Hey guys, I posted a YouTube short about a month ago and it did better than I thought it would have. I also posted it on a couple of other platforms and I got a ton of requests to do this overview, so thought I would do that right now. I'll pretty much go over everything. I just don't want to spend like 20 minutes going over this setup. It's pretty basic, so we'll get started with the externals. Oh, sorry, before we do that, this is the Umbrella Corp EMG Helios M4. It was like a sub $300 gun, super nice for the $300 mark, full metal, and the internals aren't too bad. I'll go over those in a second, but like I said, we'll start with the externals. So this is the Voltor Tracer. It's pretty old, but it's what I run. The top is a Element PEC 15 replica. It has the red laser and the illuminator. I do use the illuminator occasionally, but since I run the tracer, I don't use a super high power light, so I'll just use that illuminator for most of the time. Show you guys the top of it real quick. Also have the pressure switch for that, and then below that I have the BCM Gunfighter grip. This is like my favorite grip of all time. If you're looking into a grip for key mod, M-Lock, or even Picatinny, this is the way to go for sure, in my opinion. You'll also probably notice that I swapped out the rail. In my opinion, this rail is just not that nice looking. It also didn't sit how I wanted it with the outer barrel, even though even this one doesn't, but that's just the outer barrel. I also just don't like the look of like the sling mount here and the way the M-Lock is set up. It's not my favorite rail, but it does work if you want to keep that. I just had this one on hand. I wasn't going to spend like $70 just buying one, so I just had this one on me, so I threw that on there. At the top is a Avengers T1 replica. Super nice red dot. It's what I primarily use. Thinking about replacing the mount and getting the PTS mount for a better sight picture with my full face mask. The mag is an Avengers as well. It's a 180 round mid cap. These are my primary mags because they feed super well in this gun and they look pretty sweet. So definitely check these out if you have this gun. This gun isn't too picky on mags. So the grip is just stock. It's the Umbrella Corp replica. The stock is a Magpul CTR. I replaced the other stock because I didn't like the way I had the sight picture with like the bulky crane stock style, so I replaced that. But I did like the original stock. It was just a little too big for the full face mask. I also painted it. As you can see, it's not too great looking, but it works with the color scheme I go with. Let's see, anything else? The trademarks are super cool. I like how they did them, like an umbrella on the full auto. Super nice trademarks. I love the look of this gun in general. It's super clean looking. If I had any complaints about anything for like the externals of this gun, it would be the finish. The finish just doesn't feel like metal to me. It feels more like polymer, but it is metal. It is full metal. The finish is just too nice, I guess. Like with this like Crytek, it's like more brushed, while this is super polished. It's not really a bad thing, but I just prefer like the rougher metal on my guns, but not a huge deal. But my bigger issue is this dinging sound it makes with like the bolt setup or whatever. But if you guys know how to stop that sound, I took out the slide catch or whatever you call it, that hides the pop-up, thinking that would help with the sound, but it's not. I'm thinking it's the dust cover, but I'm not really willing to take all of it off. so that's the only complaints I really have about the externals. Guess we'll get started with the internals. So if you know anything about this gun, the biggest complaint is the micro switch and the MOSFET. It is a really big issue with these batches of guns. I think this is the second batch. It was different from the first batch, from what I can tell. But the issue with mine was that it just stopped retracting, and it wouldn't engage this little clear button. But I've heard with like the first batches that this would just snap right off. So mine just straight up stopped working. So as you can see, I got the gate tighten. Definitely recommend putting that in any gun anyways, but I was planning on replacing that MOSFET. So if you're looking into this, keep an extra $150 or so to replace that with a gate tighten, or if you have something else in mind, that's fine too. Just be ready to replace that MOSFET. Luckily the gate tighten is pretty dang easy to install, so my gun was only out for like a day. Let's see, I forgot to talk about the barrel setup. I have a Prometheus type bore inner barrel in there. The stock barrel wasn't too great. I think it was like a 6.05, but the one I have in there right now is a 6.02. So definitely gets better accuracy and stuff like that. So the first batch that this gun came with, it came with the wheel hop-up, the wheel style, but they listened and replaced it with a rotary. I haven't replaced the hop-up because, in my experience at least, rotary hop-ups are pretty much the same, unless it's like plastic or, you know, anything else with it. So unless you want like an R-hop or a flat hop, just keep that stock hop-up in there. It's as nice as it gets. So I kept the hop-up. As far as the compression system, it's pretty much all stock in there. I do have a couple of issues with it though. So the air nozzle is plastic and it has no O-ring, and that causes a leak between my piston head and the air nozzle. So my compression isn't great, and that would be why I'm running like 310 to 320 FPS with 0.2s. But I am planning on fixing that and replacing the air nozzle and possibly the piston head. The piston head isn't too bad. It's just the O-ring that's inside it is a little bit tight sitting on it, so the compression leaks a little bit in the cylinder. But other than that, the gears in here are stock 13-to-1, which is pretty different. You almost never get 13-to-1 stock. You typically get like 18-to-1s or something like that. But glad it came with these. Let's see what else. The motor, I believe, is a 20K, and I'm really not a fan of it, and it's just really not that great quality. If you didn't know, this gun is a OEM SEMA, and I was really surprised when I opened the gearbox with how decent the internals were. Like I said, the only thing really for me was the micro switch, and the compression wasn't amazing, and it wasn't terrible, but it could be better. Let's see. But yeah, anyways, with the motor, when I took this apart, and like half of the issue other than my micro switch when this thing broke down on me was the pinion gear flew off, and the hood was off. So when I took this motor grip off, my motor was in pieces, and it scared the hell out of me. But I do have the same motor in there now, but trust me, I'm not running it. The next time I go out to my field, I'm gonna buy a motor there, and probably replace it with an ASG 30K. That'll run really nice with my 13-to-1s, and the gate tighten. Speaking of the gate tighten, like I said before, I totally recommend it. It is very easy to install, and the customization is just crazy. It's all sensor based, and I definitely recommend if you're getting into teching and you want your gun to run pretty much like an HPA. I do plan on, I have a trigger on the way actually. It's the Gate Nova. It's supposed to work really well with the Gate Titan, and adjustable for like the settings on the sensors and stuff. But yeah, before we wrap this up, I'll talk about the battery, because I do get a lot of questions about it with the CTR stock. But it is just this 11.1 1100 milliamp buffer style battery. It fits decent in there. With the gate wires, it actually gave me a little bit of an issue because the gate wires were longer than the stock wires, so I had to mess with the gate wires a little bit. And you can see the wires stick out of the buffer, and that's just going to happen. You're going to get that anyways. But it's not a huge problem for me because I run my stock about 3rd position, so not a huge issue. But yeah, if you get a bad sight picture and you're running like a full face or something like that, definitely recommend this stock setup. It works pretty well for me, and I like the battery anyways. So, but yeah, if you guys have any other questions about this setup, definitely leave it in the comments, and I'll get back to you guys. Probably do some other stuff with this gun, hopefully figuring out a camera setup to get some gameplay. Other than that, I'll probably do a video on the performance and stuff. But yeah, thanks for watching, and